welcome back to Pastor Plek's podcast. I am your host, none other than Pastor Plek, a.k.a. Chris Plek. So glad to have all of you here. And with me back in the studio, once again, after a long hiatus, is none other than Mrs. Catie Sas.
Feel so refreshed.
Yeah, you should. I mean, that was a long break, and a lot of us felt very lonely over the amount of time that we had missing.
Hey, I've been telling you, I need a week off.
All right,
and then I got 2, so it's great.
Yeah, so talk to me about, you were about to tell me something very interesting before we just went on. Do you remember what that was?
Yes, okay. So I have some neighbors that just moved in. The wife is from France.
Oh, wow.
And the husband is Israeli.
Parlez-vous français?
And then literally, like, they moved in a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a 2-year-old. So I've talked to the mom a lot. We like go to the park together.
Wow.
Then
And
2.
she's French?
Yeah.
Does she have the accent and everything?
Yes.
Oh, fun.
Oh, it's like so pretty. And then and they're Jewish. So she converted to Judaism after they got married so that their kids could be Jewish. I had no idea that, like, even if the husband was Jewish, if the wife wasn't Jewish, then that meant the kids couldn't be born Jewish.
Right.
And so she had to convert so that their kids could be
She converts
Jewish.
from like Catholicism?
Yeah. And then last night we run into a family that literally just moved to America from Israel 2 months ago.
I have some Israeli neighbors as well.
And I don't even know that I've ever like met someone from Israel. Like I don't know.
Maybe we should plan a trip there and like ask them to be our guides.
Oh, that would be so fun. But they're Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
And I also was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. I literally just met someone from Israel that's Jewish too. And he goes, yeah, pretty much everyone that lives in Israel is Jewish. And I was like, oh, okay. And I probably looked super dumb.
No, I don't think that's actually true. There's a lot of Palestinians that are in Israel. Of course, they may not call it Israel, but they are not Jewish. And they're very angry at Jewish people. So I think that's very fair to say that you were like, oh, I met another Jewish person. Because it could have been a Palestinian person that was not thrilled with the Jewish state and was very angry.
Well, I mean, that's just like shows my lack of knowledge of other religions. But I was just like, oh, wow. So anyways, well, just a really fun thing.
Yeah, that is a fun thing. All right, so we're talking about, speaking of fun things, we are talking about how God opposes the proud, gives grace to the humble, and how in our search for like significance, in our search for moving our lives forward, we often, kind of we trust our own ability. We don't want to ask for help, and probably because we're afraid of being insignificant as a whole, or we're just vying for contention, looking for our position or power over peace. And what we talked about this past Sunday was Jesus breaking up a bunch of arguments. The first argument that Jesus broke up in Mark 9 was the argument between the scribes and the disciples over a man who just wanted his kid healed. Then Jesus breaks up an argument amongst the disciples and themselves about who was the greatest. And then Jesus rebukes John for his argument with some other guys that were healing people in Jesus' name because he was telling them to go away and stop doing that. And then Jesus is like really trying to help them with their own argument with themselves, if you will, of like, keeping themselves from sin. And so that really kind of the entire gamut of like the conflict that we find with people really is a struggle for I want what I want when I want it, and I don't care who is in my way. Now, there was a part of our message where I challenged everybody to mirror the prayer of this man who had a son who was possessed by a demon. He'd often throw himself in the fire or into water to kill himself, and he'd always trying to rescue his kid. And he comes to Jesus, he says, hey, if you can do anything, please help my son. Have compassion. He's like, if you can, everything is possible for him who believes. And then the man goes, I believe, help my unbelief. And that was just like the most powerful thing for me personally, is to see this man in front of everybody. He is at this point so desperate, he doesn't care. And you know this, I know this, you can only be as happy as your least happy kid. And so here he is in utter despair on just trying to help his kid. And Jesus moved with compassion, heals this guy's kid from the demon. Now, we challenge everybody to come up with their own, I believe, help me overcome my unbelief. And we asked that and I was surprised by
how many did you get?
100. We got about 108 responses to that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and just I'll read off a couple. I believe Jesus can heal my doubts, help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my tired heart, help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my trust, loneliness to raise my daughter in a way that glorifies Christ, help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my fear of public speaking and not getting out of this apartment, meeting the right guy with family, water, and land, help my unbelief. I'm not sure what this person meant by family water, land. Maybe this person wants
family, water, and land. Those are three great things.
Yeah,
so,
that. Hey, listen, as long as you're praying, you might as well go big. I believe Jesus can heal my singleness, help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my sister's depression and anxiety, help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my father's alcoholism, help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can help my friend's ADHD and anxiety, help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my need for approval from others, help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my son's financial problems, help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my unbelief. And he can heal my husband's legs, help my unbelief. So I feel like there's just a lot. I mean, I just read a couple. And like, honestly, on Sunday, as I was reading them on second service, I didn't do this first service, but after, before the benediction, I read off a couple of them, and I was overcome by just emotion, because just thinking about all these prayers that are going up and how much need there is in our church, and just like the amount of like, there's nothing I can do for someone's, the spiritual warfare they're going through, the infertility that they're experiencing, or the addiction, marriage issues. Like, and I don't know names on these, but it was just such a powerful moment for me that I was just overcome, gripped by emotion, just started crying on the stage, and just asked God to do a great work. So yeah, that was powerful, and just the elders as an elder team, we prayed for every one of these on Monday morning, although we're getting a bunch more in, so we'll have to pray for those as well. But anyway, that was a powerful thing for me. I believe, help my unbelief. How did that affect you, Katie, just hearing that man's specific prayer?
I think that it's a really beautiful picture of surrender, and just bringing your burdens to the feet of Christ and surrendering.
Yeah, is there anything in your past where you had to say, Jesus, I believe, help my unbelief?
So I distinctly remember years ago, this had to have been almost a decade ago, when you did a sermon like this. And you used this,
Why you
probably
remember
this,
no, probably,
because it just impacted me.
Yeah.
So I was a new believer, brand new believer. And so hearing scripture, like hearing someone in the Bible say, help my unbelief, I was just like, oh, you didn't, like, you needed help believing? Like, that's, but that was so relatable for me as a new believer. And so it's just always stuck out to me, that verse.
No, that's good.
There were a lot of things as a new believer that I needed to surrender. I remember still wanting to date my ex-boyfriend as a new believer. I was like, I need to surrender this relationship, because I just kept thinking, oh, I just want him to become a Christian so that we can date. and like, I'm like, 20, 21 years old, like, just
that was young
holding
Katie
on.
work.
Yeah,
that was some fun times. Yeah, I think for me, like, just with this land thing that our church was gifted, it was a crazy process. I believe help my unbelief came into mind a bunch, because there are times where it didn't look like the land was ever going to happen. COVID was really hard. How's our church going to make it? I believe, help my unbelief. There's a lot of different things that were just super challenging. Our kids never sleeping. I think we went through a long 8 years.
Are y'all out of that yet?
Yeah, we are.
Oh, good.
Praise God. I mean, Pax is now 3. He sleeps until 7.
Oh, wow.
Titus gets up at 5, but he doesn't bother us. So
good.
Now I'm also up at 5, and so he'll come in while I'll be in my prayer times. Like, Daddy, can I watch a show? And I'm like, no. You can sit in here and watch me pray, though.
Good.
It's challenging, but thankfully he's learned that not to come and mess with mommy or get anybody up when he gets up that early. So we're out of that stage, and it's really, really, really nice. But yeah, there were some seasons there with I guess one long season, an 8-year season, where Austin didn't sleep. He would scream bloody murder every night for 2 or 3 hours, and it was just awful. And then Jet came along, and he stopped nursing at 6 months, and so I had to feed him every night. It was the same thing but he wouldn't eat milk. He would only eat food or like the fruit pouches. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
so you have to give him like little yogurt stuff, and you're just never knowing if he's getting enough food, and that was challenging.
Oh,
And then
your kid's nutrition is something
it
you'll
is
just always stress about.
Oh, yeah, and what's interesting is Austin will never eat Adrian's food because,
What?
it's just too disgusting or whatever. And of course, I think it's amazing. But he'll go to the neighbors and eat their food. That's always
Oh,
frustrating.
that would make me cry.
So he comes home the other day and he goes to Adrian's like, "Oh, I ate chicken enchiladas at Sully's house." And Adrian and I were like, "Chicken enchiladas? You never eat chicken enchiladas." And he's like, "Yeah, but they know how to make it." And I was like,
Oh, my gosh.
So he has like starvation camp going on at our house.
I would have moved out.
Yeah. So it's definitely challenging. And so I feel like wherever you are in life, you are going to be experiencing a challenge to your faith in some way. I had one of the guys in my community group, and I hope he's listening, and I'd love for him to send some of the questions, just kind of really wrestling with some of the doubt questions that skeptics will bring up as he just started listening to like a church history book, or what he thought was a church history book. And the author just started poking holes in the Christian story. And I was like, some of these are really easy. They're not actual holes at all. They're pretty sound. And he's like, oh, shocking. But it did challenge his faith. And there's a point where you have to go, I believe, help my unbelief. And so I think when you are challenged in your faith, even when you see a healing, it doesn't even matter, right? Like we had a couple weeks ago, Greg went from wheelchair to walking, and that was mind-blowing. What do you think? Oh, are you doubting?
There's this irrational fear that I have.
Okay.
That
See, this is good.
that it's a lie. That
But
he
why?
like could walk all along.
But why would he be hanging around in a wheelchair?
I don't know. And I'm not saying this is good that I feel this way. Like, cause so much of me is like, oh my gosh, I want to believe that like God did this huge work. And it's not necessarily like a doubt in God's ability, because I know that God is powerful, but it's because I know the sin of man. Like I know that like, I don't know, maybe.
I mean, and we haven't like,
Maybe there have just been times where like there have been so many people that have been disingenuine and.
Okay, listen,
But don't,
possible.
no one listen to me, okay? Don't.
Are you? Is this like your plea for I believe, help my unbelief moment?
Maybe so. Maybe so.
So like when you see him walking around.
It's just too bizarre. Like, does it not?
I mean,
just the only
don't you
one
remember
that's
him
like,
sitting in his wheelchair right back there? Kind of. Not, I don't want to say he was in the way because we're grateful for everybody in wheelchairs, but it was like he was right there, and like even when I kind of moved chairs out of the way for him so he could sit in a row, he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna sit back here."
But because it's not a character judgment on him. Like I don't know him. He seems really sweet every time I see him. Like but I think there's this part of my brain that's like, that's not real.
Okay.
And so, yeah, maybe I just need to be healed from that.
Or maybe you need to have childlike faith. I mean, why not just believe that God heal him?
It doesn't make rational sense to me. So then that's why I'm like, meh.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, listen, and why him? Like what? Like he told me, he's like, I'm a lone wolf. I don't really hang out with anybody, so there's no one he's gonna go tell the story to.
It's not about him personally.
Okay.
It's not like him personally.
You
It's
think, like,
it's the idea of like
Jesus being raised from the dead?
you just happen to like be able to walk now. Like I don't.
Yeah, listen. It's a crazy. I mean, and if I hadn't seen the guy for 3 months before that, coming every week in the wheelchair and just longing to stand, he's just like, I just want to stand, and like he would like, and sometimes he would actually do it, and then he'd just like kind of sit down, and he like couldn't do it. I don't know. Like to me, I'm like, it's pretty powerful.
It is. When I tap into that childlike faith, I'm like, wow, that is awesome.
I mean,
then whenever I tap into my like,
that guy's just trying
trust issues, like, are you just wanting like attention or like I don't.
I mean, he got like one podcast, and like ever since that, it's not like he's come to both. He used to come to both services because it was just too hard on him physically go, come here, do his thing, and go immediately home. Now he just walks in, comes to first service, and then he rolls.
Maybe I've just never seen anything like it, so it's hard for me to
listen,
like.
I definitely appreciate the skepticism.
Is that terrible?
No,
that I'm just saying
I
this
appreciate your
publicly,
skepticism.
so he could probably see it
there
and be
was
like, "Wow,
a famous
she sucks."
apostle that didn't believe either. His name was Doubting Thomas.
Yeah, guess that's my new nickname.
Doubting Katie.
Doubting Katie.
No, I can appreciate it. Listen, I think we had him on here, and his whole life story is pretty insane. And I'm grateful. I would love to have you come and like just kind of grill him, maybe. Be like,
I don't want to be I almost cussed on the podcast just now.
I think we are live.
Yeah. Well, I almost was like, I don't want to be a beep to him. So I don't know. I don't know. Now I feel really.
No,
I feel like I need to take all my words and bring them back.
I think what you're
feeling. Put them back in my mouth.
I think what you're feeling is what everybody feels, and I think there's times where I'm saying, did that actually happen? Because when I prayed over him, he started crying.
You didn't even remember.
I didn't even remember it. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I do remember when he was crying, like sobbing when I prayed over him. I was like, man, I felt like it was, a little bit uncomfortable because it was like. Okay, it's
because
like you're like, okay, I'm gonna go over here now.
I think what's annoying is because over the last almost 10 years, there have been people that come to this church that would do these really crazy, bizarre things, and they just kind of they look like there's this God has just done a miracle in their lives, and it's all fake. It's all, and then you find out it's all a lie, and you're like, oh.
I mean,
wow.
I don't know if
I totally thought
they had they experienced emotion, and then they made all these commitments, and then their life didn't change at all.
Yeah, and you're just so I don't know. Maybe I've just.
I mean, I think that's why. Is there a reason to be skeptical? Absolutely. Is there a part where we need to be shrewd as serpents but innocent as doves? Yes, and I think that's what makes that hard. And I think that's why we do need, when it comes to healing. In this man's case, the disciples tried to heal this guy. And the funny thing I think about is they never tried to pray. That part to me blew my mind.
Well, I literally just read yesterday morning in Acts where John and Peter, right? Mm-hmm. John and Peter healed the lame man.
Yeah, Acts 3.
At the Gate of Beautiful or whatever. And I was like, wow, it's kind of ironic that I read this story that's the week after this thing that I'm super skeptical of, but kind of.
I mean, it is pretty crazy. And he, it's not like his life has been super clean. He did live homeless for a little bit, and life got hard on him. But man, God has blessed him, and I'm just excited for him. So I know that's not actually the intent of our talk this morning, but did want to kind of go through other things that people are wrestling with. Here's one. I believe Jesus can heal my panic disorder, help my unbelief. What would you say to that person in there? And plus, we just had Greg, and we say, listen, Jesus can do it. Help your unbelief that he can. Because I think that what's helpful about Greg, I guess I'm pointing over there because that's where I prayed over him, but he actually sits right here. I feel like the reason why that's so helpful is it becomes real. Mm-hmm. It's like, I believe Jesus can do stuff. I've seen Jesus do stuff. Help my unbelief.
Yeah.
And so I feel like this person with the panic disorder, help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my lust and my fear of the future. Help my unbelief. I love that that hope that we're sort of feeding into people is God can overcome your lust. God can overcome your anxiety. And that's a promise. I feel like that there's a lot of this stuff that's promised that he might not take the thorn out of your side, but he is going to provide hope, and he's going to provide a future for you. So with that, I think it's important for us to sort of double down on our hope in Jesus. Any other thoughts on that?
No.
Yeah. All right.
I don't think I need to have any more thoughts on this.
That's all all I got. So, I mean, I think I'm so blown away by just I want to read a couple more of these, just how much.
No, it's really beautiful. It's really cool.
Yeah, I believe Jesus can heal my anxiety, help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my selfishness, help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my everything, help my unbelief.
Brian and I both sent one in, so that was fun.
Yeah, I believe Jesus can heal my family, to be honest with each other in love. Help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my apathy. Help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my anxiety. Help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my relationships. Help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my wife's mental health. Help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my lifelong chronic allergies. Help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my anger. Help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my knee, my finances, my relationships. Help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my lack of faith, restore my Christianity. Help my unbelief. And that to me is just like,
That's a good one.
You know, like someone's just kind of like, I'm struggling believing in Jesus.
Yeah.
I believe Jesus can heal my fearful spirit. Help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my marriage. Help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my finances. Help my unbelief. And Jesus can heal my need for time with him. Help my unbelief. And Jesus can heal my emptiness. Help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my wounds. Help my unbelief. Jesus can heal my ear infection, hearing issue. Help my unbelief. I believe Jesus can heal my anxiety about the future. Help my unbelief. The anxiety about the future seems to be overwhelming.
Oh, yeah, that's a common one. Yeah.
In fact, whenever I do, where are my anxiety people at? It's like, I feel like half the room goes. And like they're unabashed. I'm afraid. I'm anxious about the future. Is that a you struggle or not? I don't really look at you as an anxiety person.
No, I mean, I would say I experience anxiousness at times.
About what?
I mean, oh gosh, ever since I became a mom, like, golly, I get so anxious about her getting hurt. I get so anxious about, when she's doing dangerous crap all the time and thinking she's going to like fall and break her head open. So, So like, I think there's a difference between, oh, this makes me anxious and, oh, I have anxiety.
Oh, that's fair.
Because I think a lot of people that can feel anxious sometimes automatically identify themselves as, oh, I have anxiety.
Right.
When it's like, no, I think you just felt anxious in that moment.
That's good. All right. Well, listen, guys, if you have any questions for us, just text us in at 737-231-0605 or go to pastorplek.com, and we would love to answer your questions. And listen, we're still praying over all these. I believe Jesus can heal my whatevers, help my unbelief. And I really would encourage you to just jump on the bandwagon of asking God to heal your unbelief in whatever manner that you're asking for. And this gets to the spiritual part of your relationship with God that isn't quantitative. You can't, how much faith do you need? Well, you need the faith the size of a mustard seed to move mountains. And so clearly it's about believing in God's goodness and trusting him with your whole life. That really comes to the fruition, comes to the focal point. And I think what happens is we struggle with giving God control of our lives and being powerless in the moment to be dependent upon him, because what that means is your anxiety, it gets the full exposure because you don't have control anymore. And the illusion of control of the digital currency that's in your bank account, you don't actually look at money. You don't actually have currency probably. You have some digital number in a bank account somewhere, and you're trusting in that as opposed to trusting in Jesus, neither of which you can see, which is sort of weird to think about. And so I feel like that's sort of the struggle that a lot of us have, that God's telling us to trust in our true source of power, our true source of nutrition, our true source of shelter and provision. So.
Yeah. And God, hold on.
Oh, good. Are you going to land the plane for us?
Yeah.
Good.
God does not work based on our amount of faith.
Oh, nice.
I saw this video yesterday where this woman was talking about how, the amount of faith you have, that's how much you'll see God work in your life. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? You're telling this to people? Like, who do you think you are? So anyways, just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, so it's a mustard seed of faith.
God does not work based on the amount of faith we have.
Right.
God is God, and he will always be God, and he will always be sovereign, and he will always be able to do all things.
I love that you use
regardless
the word
of you. So, anyways.
Yeah.
That just really pissed me off when she said that. So, anyways, I'm done.
All right. Well, from our house to yours, have an awesome week of worship. We'll see you next time.